Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started here. I mean, obviously, Cash Course, this is their presentation that they created. I basically just go through it and talk about it. Now, I can tell you that when it comes to budgeting, that was always something that I was really into. I still am pretty crazy about it, now. And so, when we talk about this, what I like to do is just try to get your input on this, because there's going to be some things that maybe you do already. There's that's talked about here. Maybe there's some things that that's not discussed on here, but that you do that you feel is relevant. So at any time that we're going through there, definitely give me your input. Because I think that's how we truly learn, is learning from each other as well. And so Kendrick, I'll definitely be asking you questions. I like singling people out, have fun there. So when we're looking at some of these money potholes, there are some things that we're going to try to focus in on. So during this presentation, what we hopefully cover at the end is that you recognize the 10 most common money traps, because there's a lot of different money traps, and I can tell you I'm guilty of some of those myself. I don't think we can ever truly master our finances completely. There are just some things that we like to spend money on that maybe we probably shouldn't. Mine is movies. I like buying movies. I got a lot of them, and so I got like I think 11 or 1,200 movies. So I got a lot of movies. So I know that's a bit of an expense. We'll determine what our wants versus our needs are. And this is something that before this was even popular, when I, 10, 15 years ago, I was doing this without reading these articles. I was breaking down my wants versus my needs, because I think that is probably one of the biggest keys that's going to help you really turn your finances around. Because there are plenty of things that we want, but what do we actually truly need? And we need to focus more on that. Like for example, do we truly need a dish or DirecTV? Do we absolutely have to have it? Now, I've justified this by saying that I like watching The Walking Dead, so I need it. So we can lie to ourselves if we need to, but we have to try to be honest in a way. We'll look at about creating a financial plan, understanding the value of budgeting, which I do think is important, and then that they show you some sites that you can actually go onto their course, Cash Course website, and use like budgeting, like templates where you can create budgets and so forth, which is really good. So we'll look at that. So some things when we talk about how much money is enough. So where's our money going? That is something that you always want to look at. Where are you spending your money? Here are just some examples where maybe your money's going. Obviously, college costs. You got college bills, you got textbooks or whatever. Hopefully, financial aid is covering most of that, but in some cases, it doesn't always do that. So sometimes you've got to shell out just a little extra money here and there. Maybe it's even just buying some extra supplies that you need for your classes, but that adds up. Also, cell phone. I'm assuming that all of us in here probably have a cell phone. So I can tell you, now this is how when I was a student, this is how I was able to get out of having to pay for that cell phone. Okay, now I'm cheap, and so I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to get a cell phone. I was moving a couple hours away, and she likes to talk to me. And I'm just like, hey, I can't afford it. I don't want to spend the money, so I guess I'll just have to write you a letter sometime. And she's like, oh, no, I'll pay for that cell phone. I'm like, all right, so you can con people into doing it. So, but yeah, cell phone. And now I will say, when it comes to a cell phone, some cell phone bills are a little bit more than others, and so because you've got to start factoring in, okay, how many phones do you have, on that plan, your data plan, all these different things, all that adds up, and so even to this day, I try to keep it to the bare minimum. My wife and I have both, 2 cell phones. We don't have any data plan or any of that stuff. A very bare minimum. We normally, I think it's like $50-something, $60-something plus tax. So it's normally the 60-something for 2 phones, give or take. So in that range, we normally pay quite a bit in the taxes. That's what really gets us. But so it's not an enormous amount. But we don't have like a big data plan. We don't have data plan. We don't have internet or any of that stuff on there. So we just basically try to go with the cheapest plan possible, and then we pay all those taxes in it. So entertainment, cable TV. Now I can tell you, I'm guilty of the dish. I like it. I don't know if I necessarily have to have it, but that is definitely one of my expenses. And so, entertainment, you know me about movies, I like my movies. And so, but I will say what we'll talk about a little bit today is that what are some alternatives that we can potentially do there? Like for example, when we say entertainment, what are some, alternatives instead of going paying money, for an entertainment? So what would that be? Have you ever been to the library here? There is a movie section in the front of the library. You can actually rent those movies. Yeah, so when you go into the library, over on the right side, there's a deal that has various DVDs. And you can go there, you can rent those there, it doesn't cost you anything, and so you could actually rent movies there, free of charge. Or if you have a library card here in Joplin, if you live here in Joplin, because if you don't live here in Joplin, you have to actually pay for that library card, which is kind of crazy. But if you live here, you can go there. They have movies too that you can rent, and they have generally quite a bit. So there's just entertainment right there. Obviously, the school also does what? Don't they have lots of shows and different events here on campus? Obviously, you're paying for that, in your fees, so you might as well go to that. So so there's ways that you can find to save money, by doing that. Clothes, food, transportation. all of them are other expenses. Is there anything else that you consider a pretty big expense, in your life that you use? What's an example? Give me an example of expense that's not listed on there, but you definitely have to have every month. Kendra?
Gas. Oh.
Well, transportation, but gas, yeah. It's still on there. So what else? Anything else? What's that?
Children.
Children. Oh, absolutely. You have kids. Like daycare. Oh my goodness, daycare, man. Every week I got to pay daycare, and it just gets me depressed. It gets me depressed every time. And so other things, when we talk about Uncle Sam is everywhere, everyone's relative. Well, what we're meaning by this is that when you start working and you're making money, what's happening? You're paying taxes. You think you're getting X amount in your paycheck, and that first paycheck you get, you're like, hey, wait, something's wrong here. And because you see all these different taxes. And I will tell you from experience, in college, I normally did work study, so essentially I pretty much got everything that I made, doing that. And then when I got out there kind of in the real world, and I've got, my first job and I'm making money, and then I look at that and I'm like, man, they're taking out a lot in taxes, because then you start taking, your retirement that they take out, all these different things, and it's like, normally, for me, it's somewhere around 25-27% of my check goes to taxes, and I'm thinking, man, that's a chunk there, so that is something that I don't know if I was quite prepared for, seeing that. And so yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about tax refunds, application loans, all these, anticipation loans, some people will actually try to basically spend their money before they even get a refund. They're already trying to spend that money. And I see that happen all the time. And so I would just say, at the end of the day, you better be focusing on what money you have in hand, not what your future, that you may have. Because that may change, and then you're in this debt as a result of that. And so I see, H&R Block saying, well, we can give you a loan, on, your future tax return that you get. Problem is that they're going to be charging you quite a bit, in order to get that, money that, that day that you file. And so it's not a good idea. Also, no such thing as a free check. When we're talking about this, obviously you got credit cards, debit cards, your check. I try to pay primarily with things with cash. Now, why would I want to do that? What would be my purpose for trying to use cash a little bit more? Right, you're not dealing with a lot of service charges. It costs money to buy, checks. That's for one. Depending on where you're at, if you use a certain ATM, and if it's not your, main bank, they charge typically. Same thing, it's really easy to swap the card to buy something and not really have to deal with the consequences at that moment. How many of us, it's easier just to swap the card and then we'll think about it later, at times. And same thing with credit cards or debit card. Even though debit card, eventually you're going to run out of money in your checking account. But I pay cash primarily because it keeps me accountable, because I can see how much money I have in my wallet. And what I do is I do it like an envelope system. So every, I get paid once a month. My wife does too. So normally what we do is we create envelopes and we put cash in there. So I have my, monthly, amount that I give myself in cash. So every week I take out my monthly or my weekly allowance and put that in my wallet. And I use that to try to pay for most things. Now, I do have some bills that I use electronically and stuff, which, is just a little bit more convenient. And you save, on buying, money orders and other items like that. But you have to be careful, when you are using your debit card or using a check, because it becomes really easy just to sign that and worry about it and just hope that it clears, because maybe you're really tight, and your check, could be in, the day, but you have to send off that bill, pretty quick, and so you send that check. But what happens if something comes up and it bounces? Then you got all these other fees, that are, added on there. So you've got to be careful when you're doing that. How many of us would say that we use either a credit card or a debit card almost, every day or week or so? Most of us. And so now, how many of us are really good about making sure that we jot down every little single thing that we spend on that debit card? Okay, so we got a couple, so but some of us, we just swap it and we kind of do mental math. Like, okay, I think I got about this much in there. That may work out if you have a pretty nice cushion there. But what happens if you are essentially living paycheck to paycheck and you do the math just a little bit wrong, and then you bounce? Then you got all those fees, and so you just got to be careful when you do that. And so you got to be tracking the money. Some of us, who have problems, financially, sometimes we go to the pawn shop or so forth, to try to sell some of our stuff or hawk it or whatever. Have any of us have ever had to do that before? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I can tell you, growing up, my mom, she lived at the pawn shop. I'm telling you, man, she lived there. She hawked everything. And I used to come home from school and I'd see my Nintendo was gone. I knew what was going on. So yes, we argued about that, by the way, quite a bit. So yeah, when I saw the Nintendo was gone, I knew times were tough. And so every month she would be trying, to make sure that she was able to get it out and stuff, but she has to pay all these fees. Now, I'm not going to go too much in detail on here. This is their numbers, their examples, so certainly look at it, but, they're just trying to give you a rough idea that if you go out there and, you need, you hawk your wedding ring in this case, $300 it's worth. Pawn shop offers you $30, to hawk it, because they're not going to give you very much. They typically don't. Sometimes you can get a little bit more out of certain pawn shops compared to other ones. So my mom used to go to all the different pawn shops and see where she'd get the best deal. And so, but the problem is that you are going to be paying this, paying the money back, and you're going to be paying it a little bit more. Now, this is just their example. So they're saying that, they offer you $30. Their fee is $6, plus, 60 cents, interest. So it equals, $6.60. And you get your ring back in 30 days as long as you pay back that $36.60. Now, what happens sometimes is that they're not able to pay it back, and so one, they'll either try to renew their loan where they get a little bit more, or basically what happens if you don't pay them back? They get your ring or whatever your item is, and then they get to go and sell it and make some pretty good money. So no matter what happens, the pawn shops are generally going to come out ahead, in the end. It's a business. They got to make money. And so you see there, now they talk about their interest. They're saying it's somewhere around 22% interest, from that. And so is that a good interest rate, for you? No, it's a good interest rate for them. They're coming out ahead quite a bit. You think about, a car, loan or house, mortgage payment or, with your interest, you may be looking at 4 or 5%, depending on the circumstance, and maybe a little higher. You don't generally see 22% and more, for most places. So if you're, going there, they know you're desperate, and they know that you pretty much have to accept their terms, so they can jack it up, because there's not a lot that you can do. Now you can say, well, I'll just go somewhere else, but almost all the other ones, are pretty high in interest as well. And so when we talk about budgeting and trying to manage our money, by doing that, it's going to help us avoid this. Now my mom, we grew up, it was my mom, she was a single parent. My mom was in a wheelchair, so she was disabled. We were on welfare. We were poor. It was just basically her and, my sister. And so Dad out of the picture, he's gone. And so, we didn't make very much money. And so, you think about, a family of basically 3, you basically go through food pretty fast. And they don't give you very much money. So I can tell you, I think, back in, like the 90s or whatever, when I was a kid, I think my mom said that she was making somewhere, what she took home, because she got a disability check and then she was, getting welfare, all that stuff, she was making somewhere around $600 or $700 a month. That's what we had to live on for 3 people. And now you get like Section 8 housing, so you get like help subsidized, for housing and different things. But still, $600 or $700 a month for, your mom, and you have 2 kids. That's tough. and so you run out of food fast. And so that's when you start looking around in desperation for what you have in your house, and you're going to the pawn shop and you're accepting, these crazy numbers, because you're desperate. And what happens a lot of times is that you're not able to pay for it, and they basically get your item, that you did. And so some other stuff, that we'll look at, like the payday loan. I don't know how many have ever had to go to one of those payday loans. They get you. You're not going to come out ahead with them. I can tell you that. My mom done that too, but she went to all of them, and then of course she didn't pay them, so she couldn't go back to them anymore. So she pretty much did that as well. So this is just their example that they use. So let's say you're running out of money and you need to hurry up and basically get a loan. So you can go there and try to get a payday loan. Let's say there's a minimum of $100, maximum $500. The average loan term, you have 2 weeks essentially to get it paid off. If you borrow $100, you're going to be paying somewhere between $15 and $30 out of that $100 that they loaned you. Now you may think, oh, well, that's not horrible, but typically you're looking at about a 400% annual interest rate, when you're going to these places. Now, I think Janetta, you said you've experienced this, and would you agree with that? Do you feel like it's probably in that area?
Yeah.
And so you have to ask yourself, does that make financial sense to be going somewhere where they're going to be you're going to be paying close to 400% interest? I mean, obviously it doesn't, but when you're desperate and you need that money, you're going to do things that you have to do. I mean, to survive.
The same way you were with your mom. I mean, I had raised a boy and a girl on my own too.
Yep.
So back then, yeah.
Yeah, and so sometimes you make those decisions that you really don't want to do, but maybe that's the difference between your kids eating that night and not, and so you have to do it.
Yeah.
And so what I hope that we take from this as we're talking about it is what can we do to hopefully avoid this, and that's the tricky part. So this is just more examples that they offer, when they're talking about the different type of payday loan examples and so forth. I don't care, you don't be too concerned with that. I think really what you take away from this is you're going to be paying a lot in interest, a lot. You are not going to come out ahead in this scenario. The only persons that are winning in this circumstances is the payday loan people. They are coming out ahead, and so not you. Now, obviously, you need that money sometimes, so you have to do desperate things. But this is just an example they give: 124% interest. This is what you're going to end up paying back. It's not worth it. And so, but we have to find alternatives to how we can basically avoid that. So, cash it now. This is, kind of that mentality. Some people, let's say, don't have a bank account, and so, but they are still getting a check from their employer. And so sometimes you have to go to different companies, or maybe even a bank. If you don't have an account, they charge you, if you don't have an account there. How many of us have experienced that, where we've gone to some other place or had to? So give me your example.
I can go to Walmart, but you said I went to cash out.
Okay, and how much do they charge you? $3? Okay. And so they're doing their example. Now I can tell you, like, I went to this one bank before. I didn't have an account there, but it was right by the college that I was at. And I thought, well, I'll just go there. And they ended up charging me like 6 or 7% of what my check was. I mean, it's crazy, and so I was like, that's the last time I will ever do that. And so it's not that hard to set up a checking account. And so, and if you shop around, you can find checking accounts that are free, that are completely free. You don't have to spend anything. Now, there are some banks that I think are a little bit more desperate for money in a way. So they're like charging you, like if they send you out a paper statement each month, like Artis does, they charge you $3 a month to send out a paper statement showing your account, when you can go online and just look at it, without having the paper deal. So they have these ways to get that money. So, but for this circumstance, if you don't have a checking account, and you've got to go to Walmart to cash your check. Now, their example they're giving is that you have $250 you're getting each week. The checking cash fee is 5%, and that's typical for some of these places. So that's $12.50 that's coming out of your check every time that you go to that place and cash it there, because you don't have a checking account somewhere. And so now your check is $237.50. So what they are doing is they're adding those fees. So if you're paying $12.50 for every time you cash your check, and there's 50 weeks, a year, you are paying $625 to them, just so you can cash your check there. That's a lot of money. And so, and even if it's $3 or $4, whatever it may be, just think how much you would save if you just opened up a checking account. And it's pretty easy to set one up. So I would just suggest doing that because they add up fast. So other things that we encounter with people is that these get-rich-quick schemes. How many of us have heard friends or maybe experienced yourself that, oh, if I just do this, man, I can make some money. So you got right there, work from your dorm room, easy and fast money. You've got weight loss miracle. Refer your roommates to make some money. So you see these little ads in papers or on TV. Get paid money to shop until you drop. All you need is a laptop, and we'll pay you money. Normally, if you're seeing these ads or you're seeing it in the paper, whatever, it's a job that's saying, hey, you can do this. Do you think that you're really going to be making money in there? Probably not. It's probably going to be rigged that you may make it just a little bit, but they're going to come out way ahead. So I mean, I would just say if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And so my wife's dad, this was his mentality. It was, oh my goodness. He came up with everything he could. It's like every week or so, he'd be trying to come up with some other scheme where he could make that quick buck. It never failed. And so he'd see an commercial or whatever, and man, he's like, oh right, man, I he's signing up for that. And so it's a mentality, I think. It's I don't think you can make money really easy and fast. Most of the time, it's through getting a good education, getting a job, working your way up, having good budget, tips, managing your money, saving the long term. That's how you're really going to truly come out ahead. But for him, he didn't have that long-term mentality. Everything had to be right then and there. And that was just the concept, the mindset that he had. And so we have to work on trying to break that cycle. And for him, it was just difficult. Every so often he'd be coming up with some other scheme where he's going to make his money. And I can't tell you how many times he's like, okay, I got a deal for you. If you loan me this money, I'm going to make so much money in the future I can pay you back with interest. I'm like, no thank you. So not going to happen. So I will say, my mom was really horrible with managing money, but the one thing that she taught me that I still follow is she said, never loan money to anyone, especially family. Because they will mess you over in a second, and they're family because they don't care. You have to love them, I guess. But and so later on when I got older and I started saving, my mom was like, hey, can I borrow some money? I'm like, oh no, you told me. And so I wouldn't do it. So now if I wanted to get her something just to be nice, I would do that, but I wasn't ever going to loan. And because when you loan money, what happens to your friendship most likely? Yeah, normally it does, because you go see them buy something that you think, hey, you can't pay me, but you can go buy that. And so it starts causing problems. So get away from the get-rich-quick schemes and that stuff. Also, rent-to-own. This is another thing that I'm telling you, every time when I looked at this presentation, I was thinking, man, this is my family right here. This is what it represents. How many of us have gone to like Rent-A-Center or other places and decided, what, man, I'll have to pay $15 a week. You can't beat that. And so have any of us encountered or know someone that has done that? Yes. And so now, this is the math. This is what they come up with. Now, I don't say it's right or wrong, but this is what they come up with. So they say there's a new TV that you want. It's $400. So the weekly, rental, so 56 weeks, $15, so times 65 weeks, so equals $975. Plus you got 5% sales tax, so 75 cents times 65 weeks. So that's 48, 75. And then they may have a possible delivery fee depending on how big the TV or whatever it is. But you could potentially spend maybe $10 or so. So you're most likely going to spend around $1,000 for a $400 TV. Now my question is, does that make sense to you to do that? No. And so, but why? Why would they do that? What would be their reasoning to do it? They want it now. So it goes back to that mindset that we were talking about. That I got to have it right then and there. That So like if I want something, normally what I do is if I can't pay cash for it, I don't get it. And so what I do is I like the envelopes. That's just what I do. So I've got these envelopes, and I have like a discretionary fund, or maybe if I want something, I'll jot it down, whatever that item, maybe a new TV fund, and I'll just put in $15, $20 here, and I wait, and I just keep saving until I can pay cash for it. And so now, you may ask, what are some alternatives? Because maybe you need a TV right then and there. I can tell you, if you go like, the DAV, which is on 7th Street, which is a thrift shop there. There's also Salvation Army. I have seen TVs. Now, they're not flat screen, the newer ones. I mean, they're a little bit more the bulkier, bigger ones, but they work. And, I can tell you most of them are like $5, $10. And I'm talking like 27-inch TVs, and you can pay $5 or $10 for it. Back in the day, back in the 90s, when we had that, they were like $400 or $500 for one of these big TVs, and now they're $5, at these thrift stores. And they work. And so I would argue that, maybe you want to get that nice, TV, and I think that's good to have and save money back for it. But what you could be doing in the meantime is just go, to a thrift store, buy a TV that's pretty cheap, $5, $10, and use that until you have the money to buy the TV that you want. I mean, that would be my alternative, what I would do. And so, does anyone, right now is thinking about getting a new TV? All right, so we're good. So I didn't scare you. But $1,000, that's just way too much. Now this one, this is their slide. I don't know. I don't really encounter this, like kind of the loan shark people that you go to. And there's different type of, companies that you go to that have these really aggressive, percentages that you have to pay and so forth. So, with this 30% interest, and if you don't pay, they have like a, kind of a no default clause, and so that they still get their money and they basically get to repossess what you have as well in some cases. So, I don't see this too often. I don't know if any of you have encountered this at all. So, I'm just briefly going to mention that. I just don't encounter it really. This I have seen around town here in Joplin. And let's say, you have a car, and you have a title of that car, and you need a quick loan. You can actually give, these companies the title of your car as collateral. And so let's say their example is you have a $5,000 car. The loan amount is $1,000. Now pawn shops do this all the time as well. Especially some of the bigger ones. They can, basically you can hawk your car. And there are other businesses that just, focus on cars. There's one on 7th Street that does this. I drive by it almost every day and I see it there. And so, but let's say, $1,000, is what you need. Your interest charge is going to be $600, 10% a month, for 6 months. So you got your total price there, $1,600. Then, of course, there could be additional charges because then you're dealing with storage, fees, non-payment, so they can repo your car. So they give you basically, $1,000 loan plus you're paying all that interest. And if you don't pay them, what happens? They get your car. Yes.
So is that like Car-Mart kind of?
Yeah. Well, Car-Mart is more, I think is more of a dealership where you can buy cars. Now, there are some ones I cannot remember the name of it, but it says title on there. Like, basically you can go there, you give them your title, and sign off. What's that? Yeah, I think so. I think that might be the one that I'm thinking about there. That's more the circumstances. Car-Mart, I would say you can buy cars there, but you can also, do trade-ins and different things. So I don't think it's quite the same, but you're looking for that fast cash, and so you're going to do, things that I would say a normal person wouldn't normally do, And so, because when I look at those numbers, do you think that makes sense to do that? Because it's risky. That's a $5,000 car. You're getting a loan that's not really that much. The value of the car. Plus, you're paying all this interest, and then if somehow hard times hit you again, you can't pay it. They get everything. And so it's favored for them. Now, some things that we will look at is basically the stuff that we want, the stuff that we need, and the stuff we have money for. So it's that kind of wants versus needs. So I see tears almost there. So what are the things that you want? Give me an example of what you want. Okay, you want a new iPhone? Okay, and how much is this iPhone?
Too much.
Okay, now I will argue that some of these phones, $400 to $600, give or take, or more, depending on what kind it is. Now, I always like to show this when people mention this. My phone. The flip phone. Yes. How much did I pay for this?
$20.
No.
Free.
It was free. Because, I have a plan with AT&T. They only give you like 2 choices on the phone of what you can get for free, or you pay 96 cents or whatever. So it's like 2 choices. And so you get the flip phone, Or they have this one where you can kind of text. It's like it opens up and it has a little keyboard. I mean, but it's cheap looking. But I'm going for that next time. By the way, we're upgrading to that one. The 96 cents one there, because I am horrible at texting. The first time I ever texted was over the summertime. This is how bad I fought technology. And so, but I'm telling you, it takes me like 5 minutes to text like 2 words. And so, and I'm having a hard time because on this one, it has like, TV or whatever, and you've got to like hit the button a couple times to get to the letter you want. I'm thinking, forget this. We're upgrading to the next one where I paid 90-something cents for the phone. And so next time, that's what I'm getting. So that, yes, is a want. Because we don't really need, a $600 or $800 cell phone. Even though we want that, we don't necessarily need it. And also ask yourself, what could you be doing with that money instead? And that's what I always come back to, is how could I be using this money for something else, that I need? And so what are some needs? What do we actually need? Our necessities. So, groceries?
Car insurance.
Car insurance, absolutely.
Food,
And-
yeah, like you said, food.
Yeah, and what else?
Clothes.
Clothes, yes. You don't want to be walking around naked around campus. You'll probably get in trouble for that. And so, but yes, so you do need clothes. Now, here's the kicker when it comes to the clothes. Do you need designer clothes? Do you need the fancy clothes? Okay, a pair of jeans should cost you how much money? Tell me how much you have paid for a pair of jeans in your lifetime. Just give me like the,
30-something.
what's that?
I don't know, usually I go to sales and I don't pay more than like $20.
Okay, so maybe $20, $30 for some jeans, give or take.
10,
10, 15, okay, so that's all I think within reason. I've seen some people spend over $100 for a pair of jeans. It's a certain brand, it had all these little things on there, they say, oh, I've got to have it. And so, but are those jeans really going to last you forever? Probably not. And what happens if you get a big stain on it, before too long? Probably not a good thing. So, look for deals. Now, I'll tell you one place, if you're looking for nicer clothes, that maybe a little bit more designer clothes, or name brand ones, Ross's. Ross's, I think, in my opinion, is a good place to go to. You can find, a little bit better deals there. So you can still get nice clothes, but pay a little bit less. Look for clearance racks and stuff, it's just those little things, You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money for that. I give this one example, I'll give you real fast, and that is my wife's, sister and husband. Now, they make really good money. Really good money. I think he makes somewhere around $38 an hour. It could be more now. Because it's been a while since I last heard about how much money he was getting. So he works on electrical lines. He's a foreman. So he gets paid a lot, and he gets tons of overtime. Because if there's storms, he goes there and he gets double time, and if it's raining, he gets triple time. So he makes a lot of money, and so they are typically broke. They live paycheck to paycheck for the most part. Their kids are grown. There used to be, well, we have kids, and so that's why we don't have any money. It's not that. Kids are grown, but they still spend lots of money on their kids, even though they're grown. But they make poor decisions, in my opinion. So, and I'll give you my example of what I would consider a poor decision. You probably have seen those off-road little vehicles they have. They look like, in my opinion, they look like golf cars or whatever, in my opinion. So I forgot the official name, but they're off-road, deals or whatever. They bought it cost them $20,000. They had to drive to Arizona to pick this up. And obviously he did not have $20,000. So what did he do? He had to take money out of his retirement fund, which you have to pay a huge penalty if you take money out of your retirement fund. He's got a lot of money in there. To him, $20,000 wasn't a big deal, and with the fees. So he did that. And then the first week that he had it, he ended up wrecking it, and it's got a big dent in it. So $20,000, then you get a dent like the first week you have it. So, those are just, in my opinion, that's not good, financial decisions that you're making. For him, that's what he likes, that's what he wants. It's his money, he'll do what he wants with it. So that would definitely be something a want that he wanted and he was able to get. So you have to really distinguish the two. I say make sure that you have the money to do it, because if you're getting credit cards, you're still going to be paying a ton of interest in them. I know not everyone, some people have to use credit cards to get things. I would just say, try to find alternatives, of those things instead of going for the big expensive one. On a Cash Course, and it has the link here, you have the PowerPoint. All you have to do is go to Cash Course, and they actually help you. Where the needs versus the wants workshop. So you can, or a worksheet. So you go in there and type in all your stuff, and it helps you kind of track all of it. So I think that's one good thing about Cash Course that you can do. They have a lot of these different things on here. So that's just one example. Now, if you ever want me, to send you this PowerPoint, I can. So like if you email me and say, hey, can you send me that PowerPoint? I'll send you this. because when you have the PowerPoint, you can actually click on there and it takes you automatically to there. So keep that in mind. So I can easily send it to you. And this is the other one about making a plan. So saving goals, worksheet, a worksheet, where it allows you to kind of set different, financial goals that you want to, reach. Since I was in college for so long, and then I worked at a college, my entire life revolves around semesters. So when I set my own financial goals, I set it by semester. By the end of, the fall semester, I want to be at this amount, this number that I'm looking for. Or by the spring semester, I want to be here. During summer semester, I want to do it here. So my entire life still revolves around the college semester. And so for maybe, while you're in school, maybe that's what you do. Your short term, it may be by semester. At the end of this semester, I want to be here. So you can modify it and make it your own. And this is, of course, the monthly budget, which I think is good because it really allows you to jot down all your expenses. That I like. And they have a lot of different categories. And so, and they have one category that says other. So if you don't see the thing that you need on there, that's where you put it. Just put it on other, where you can put, that expense there. But this is a good deal because it can really track what you're spending. And then, of course, Budget Wizard, that's another, place that they have on there that they tell you about that you can go to. So if you're worried about that it's going to take you too much time, how many of us say, well, I just don't got enough time to be doing all that stuff? Okay. Well, this can help you, where it saves you the time. And so now I go to a different, I don't use Budget Wizard. I know this thing is through it's through the federal government. They have one of their deals. I forgot the link of it, but if you do want it, I do have it saved, so I can send it to you. But I can't remember.